they weren't very happy about it because the day basically got hijacked by two bros who wanted to talk about World of Warcraft and just hang out the entire time.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
My name's Travis. On TikTok, it's Travis T. My in-game name. My Druid is Olomas. I started playing the game back in 2005. The reason I ended up getting into the game was my Xbox 360 had gotten the 3 Rings of Death, and I was super upset that I wasn't going to be able to really play any video games. We had a family computer at the time, and I'd play games on it occasionally, like I played Black and White and just a few other computer games. So I asked my dad if we can go get me a new computer game while we sent my Xbox to be repaired by Microsoft. So we drove down to the store and went to the gaming section and was walking around looking at all the computer games, and I saw the Night Elf on front of the World of Warcraft box. Was like, oh, that looks like a cool game. Picked up the box, looked at the back, read about it, thought it was super cool, looked really interesting. I really loved the Elder Scrolls games and just fantasy games in general, so I thought I would really enjoy that game. So I asked my dad if we could buy it. Said, sure, it's fine. Started installing it, and then my dad found out that it cost $15 a month. He's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, please, just until my Xbox gets fixed, and then I'll probably start playing my Xbox again. He caved, so I started playing it. First character I made was like a human mage. Didn't get very far with him because I didn't understand how abilities worked or anything like that. I was only like 12 years old at the time, so I was still kind of a dumb kid. Then eventually tried a hunter out, really enjoyed that. Once I got to like level 12 or 13 and got my Xbox back, started playing that again, and then my dad told me that he's going to cancel the WoW if I don't play it. So I was like, no, I'll start playing it. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'll just play it every day. So I really started getting into it. And yeah, that's kind of how I started playing WoW, was because my dad was like, I'm going to cancel it if you don't start playing it. And I didn't want him to cancel it because I wanted the ability to play it. That's kind of what got me started. Main content that I enjoy is PvP. That's basically all I do. I'll do PvE on occasion with some friends, or just to see the dungeons, but I've never gotten like Keystone Master or anything like that. And usually if I want to see a raid, I'll usually pay some guild to carry me through it just so I can see it, because I don't feel like putting the time into actually doing PvE because I'm too busy doing PvP. I've been doing PvP since Burning Crusade. I actually started out as a raider. I was a healer, and then I was playing a holy paladin at the time. I wanted to switch to DPS and play Ret. The guild that I was in laughed at my face. They're like, you can't play Ret. Like, that spec's garbage. You're not going to be able to do damage. We want you to heal. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play Ret anyways. And then they kicked me, which understandable. So I was like, well, what can I do without a guild? So I discovered PvP, so I was like, okay, let me try that, and found out Ret was kind of rough in PvP. Granted, it probably wasn't so much the spec as it was me, and then ended up re-rolling Rogue and had a lot of fun with PvP in that. Ended up transferring to a PvP server so that I can gank people and have fun doing world PvP, and then that's just about all I do now. I really enjoy the challenge that comes with it. I enjoy the freedom of it. It's a lot easier to get into groups and get into some of the rated content than it is to say join a mythic raiding guild or just raiding in general. You have to set schedule, and I don't really enjoy that. I want to be able to kind of log in whenever I want and do the kind of content I want, and I feel like PvP really does that. And I feel like I might get flamed for this. I feel like PvP is way harder than PvE, and I enjoy the challenge in that, the unpredictability of it, and not having to fight like a set script and fighting different people and kind of seeing how they all fight and all the different play styles that come with it. And it's not like a set rotation every single time. You got to really think about it and come up with a battle plan. And then in world PvP, I really enjoy how you could use the environment around you to kind of fight your enemies, whether if you're fighting on a cliff, and if I have Typhoon, I can push them off, or I can leap to another ledge where they can't get me and then leap back to get them once I get healed up, stuff like that. And that's another thing about PvP is, like, there are a few like spells that you might not use too much, but for the most part, you're really utilizing your kit to its full potential. You got to use just about everything. So the biggest thing that's been keeping me playing World of Warcraft for as long as I have is just the world itself, the play style, the class designs, and the PvP. There aren't a lot of MMOs out there that have PvP like World of Warcraft. I've tried some other MMOs in the past. I've tried the Star Wars, the Old Republic. I tried Final Fantasy 14. Tried Destiny. I think that counts as an MMO. But nothing ever really was able to capture my attention and the fun that this game has. And then all the friends that I've made over the years. You know, I've been friends with some of these people since I was a kid. I've been playing, what, 14 years now, 15 years, what, 2005, almost 18 years. Good God. So I've known some of these people like my whole life, and they still play. I still get to chat with them all the time. I've even, you know, met some of what I would consider like my best friends in this game, and, you know, met up with them in real life. I actually almost completely quit WoW in Shadowlands because I was getting so sick of Blizzard not listening to its community and our feedback. You know, throughout the, you know, beta, we told them that, you know, conduits and stuff, you know, that's not a good system. We don't like it. A lot of us just want to log on and play the game, and I feel like Blizzard's finally moving in that direction. With, you know, Dragonflight's been out 2 weeks, so we're already hearing back from them about changes that they're going to be making, you know, listening to our feedback and really being on the ball with their community. And I feel like they're really capturing what WoW used to be and are trying to bring it back. As I was talking about, like, some of the friends I made in World of Warcraft, my arena partner that is in a lot of my content that I make, his name's Zicho. Me and him have been friends since, I want to say, the beginning of Warlords, maybe. So around 2015 is when I met him. So I'm not gonna say exactly where he lives, but, you know, we didn't live in the same state, never met or anything like that. And me and the girl I was dating at the time, we were planning a trip, go to Universal Studios and Disney World down in Florida. And we get there, you know, I'm posting stuff on my story on Snapchat about being there and like being excited to go to Universal the next day. One of my other friends, her name was Cobalt, she messages me. She's like, "Oh, are you and Zicho like meeting up?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Well, you're going to Universal tomorrow, right? Are you going with Zicho?" And I was like, "No, I'm going with my girl." And she's like, "Oh, well, Zicho's there too, and he's going tomorrow." I was like, "There's no way." So I call him. I'm like, "Hey, dude, are you going to Universal Studios tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going." And I was like, "Well, what a coincidence, you know, tiny world out there, because I am too." So of course we were like, well, yeah, now we have to meet up. So he was with his girl at the time too, and they weren't very happy about it because the day basically got hijacked by two bros who wanted to talk about World of Warcraft and, you know, just hang out the entire time. So it was really cool. It makes the world feel really small when like a coincidence like that can happen. But it's really cool that I got to meet one of my, you know, my best friends that I play with out in the real world. It was a really cool experience and made the world feel very small. Well, and it's funny too, because I was actually meeting another person that I played WoW with there to go to Disneyland, not Universal. Universal was just going to be me alone, but the next day I was hanging out with another friend that I played WoW with, so it was pretty funny. So as far as my favorite lore character, just like a lot of people out there, it's definitely Arthas. I used to, when Wrath first came out, and I remember first seeing Death Knights, I immediately swapped to playing a Death Knight. I mained a Death Knight pretty much all the way BFA. Oh no, actually Shadowlands too. Halfway through Shadowlands is when I switched to Druid. But I think the reason I like Arthas so much is I also really enjoy Star Wars, and I feel like Arthas's story is Anakin's story. So it was very interesting to see the parallels between the two. One of my favorite books that I read was the lore behind his character. It was written so well because you know what happens, but as you're reading it, you're still kind of hoping that, you know, he does the right thing and doesn't kind of fall into the darkness. And I really loved the relationship between him and Jaina. Kind of wish they would have done more with it in Shadowlands, but fortunately they didn't. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on his story there. They should have just left it dead at that point. I just think the Death Knight class is so cool, and that's one of the reasons I really like his character and his abilities and his power. And he was probably one of the coolest raid bosses, you know, sitting at the top of the Iron Throne. Out of all the characters in the game, I think if Warcraft were to make a movie, starring Henry Cavill, with him playing Arthas, like that movie would do so well. Even for people who like don't really play Warcraft, I think just the story arc of it all would resonate with a lot of viewers. I think they would all really enjoy that. Yeah, so as far as my favorite quest line, I'd say my favorite quest that I've done was probably from Wrath, was the battle for Undercity. I feel like I might be wrong here, but I feel like that was like the first like instant quest that we kind of had, where, you know, we were fighting alongside a bunch of people, like a bunch of like, you know, the faction leaders, if I remember right. Thrall was there, and Sylvanas, and you're just going through the entire city to try and recapture it from what was that demon's name? Oh, I think he was like Sylvanas's right hand for the longest time, and he was like betrayed her or something like that. Don't really remember, it was so long ago, but that was a really cool quest line. And then honorable mention for this expansion specifically, I don't want to spoil it too much because it's a great quest. It's just a random side quest that you do. It's a quest where you talk to a dwarf. Those people who know it are probably crying because it's a very simple quest with a great story. One of the biggest achievements I got last expansion was getting Duelist. I kind of stopped taking PvP super seriously and pushing rating back in 2011. Like back in Wrath and Burning Crusade, I used to take Arena very seriously and was always trying to push, but then I joined the Navy and it got very difficult to do anything seriously in the game because of the time constraints, you know, randomly deploying, and then all of a sudden I'm gone, and then having to catch back up, you know, and then I get caught back up, and then it's like I gotta go again. So I ended up becoming a very casual PvPer for a while, and then once Shadowlands hit, I decided I wanted to start taking it seriously again and not just be so casual, and really like trying to master my class. And getting up to Duelist, I felt like was a really great achievement. I'd like to push higher. If I can't, I'm not gonna be too disappointed. Me and some friends are definitely gonna try and push this season. Would love to hit Glad. If I don't, I'm okay with hitting Duelist. I'm confident in my ability to always kind of hit that rating, because I hit it a couple times last expat. And then another really fun achievement I did was, I don't think it's an actual achievement, but it's a mount you can get. It's called Hive Mind. It's a really cool mount. I wish Blizzard would do more events like that, because it was really cool, because you got to get 5 other people to do it with you, and it's just all these puzzles that are kind of hidden throughout the entire map. You know, there's some where you got to go to that underwater place from Cataclysm, and you got to do this like weird kind of race where you have to get all these items in the correct order, swim all around and try and get them all within this time limit. There's one where you had to go to a dungeon from was it BFA? Yeah, BFA. I forgot the name of the dungeon, but it's one of those dungeons you got to go into, and there's like this hidden, not so much hidden room, but it's kind of a hidden room because there's nothing in there unless you have a certain item. I believe they're goggles that you buy from this random vendor in Shadrath. So you get these goggles, and you have to get like 4 different colors, and then one other person's got to come with you, and then the 5 of you have to do all these puzzles, do all the puzzles correctly, then you get the mount. And it's a really cool mount because you can all share it. 5 people can jump into the hive mind together, and it increases your mount speed by like 10% for each person in it, so you can get up to like 150% ground speed in a battleground, which is really cool. The only thing, like, I mean, it kind of sucks that the only people you could do it with is those 5 people. You're basically linked with them, so if anyone ever stops playing, you lose part of your hive mind. But that was a really cool achievement that I did. When I was a kid, I did so much of exploring in the world, and that's one of the other things I really loved about WoW as a kid, was I just was constantly exploring. Like, I know so many random little spots that like no one would ever go to. I just really loved exploring all those little areas. Yeah, like you said, why would anyone come back here? I feel like a lot of people get stuck on doing the quests, you know, following the quest path, and not really, you know, exploring the entire world that we're given. Like even like diving down, like I would dive underwater and see if I could find anything down there and just kind of explore around, just because it's like someone put the time and effort into making these places. So it's interesting to see, you know, what people do, that even though there's not a quest there, they put it here. I feel like the biggest way the game has changed, just been evolving with the players. always blows my mind when people say that, oh, Wrath was harder, or Classic's harder than Retail, which no, it's not. It's back then gamers weren't as good as we are now. I was clicking all my abilities when it was 2005, 2006. I was using my, little arrow keys to run around and click all my abilities. I mean, the difficulty of the game feels the same just because we've all gotten better as players. I also feel like they've definitely streamlined it a lot more. They made it a lot easier to get into than it was as far as like questing and leveling and learning the game. They made it a lot easier in that aspect, which is a good thing for the game. Like, it was difficult as, a 13-year-old reading a quest that's like, okay, you need to go north to the fork of the road and then go up this trail, find a cave. Inside the cave there's this, and like, not telling you where to go. And I think we had Thoughtbot, but that only did so much for you. And if you didn't know it, you're kind of about Thoughtbot, you're just kind of running around. I think I spent most of my time leveling was just killing mobs, not even doing quests, because I was a dumb kid. Couldn't figure out like where to go a lot of the time. And I think that's another reason I really enjoyed the exploring around, was looking around, finding different mobs to kill, stuff like that. And then the community feels a lot different. And that's one thing that kind of makes me sad that's changed about the game, is the community doesn't feel as close-knit. Like, I do enjoy all the tools of being able to kind of queue in, to do LFG, just join a honor battleground. But it was kind of nice, back in the day, going to the quarter, not what were they called? Battle Masters. That's what they were called. The Battle Masters in Ogremar. I would go there and you would see all the other PvPers on the server there. They would all be there queuing up. You'd be able to find groups there. You're like, oh, hey, you guys want to, I'm farming Alterac Valley tokens. You want to join my group? And like, yeah, that's cool. You meet a lot of people there. I feel like the dueling scene's gotten a little bit better. I feel like it used to suffer over the past few expansions, but it's nice to see people outside Duratar and Stormwind dueling again. Well, I guess Goldshire, that's where Alliance players duel. They don't really duel too much outside Stormwind. Some do, but most of them are over on the outskirts of Goldshire. But I think that's one of the changes that makes me kind of sad, is the community doesn't feel as close knit. I feel like it's a little more difficult to make friends than it used to be back in the day, just because back in the day you were forced to find players and group up in order to overcome challenges, where now everything's been kind of streamlined. You could just do a random group or use LFG, and most of the time no one even says anything. My goals for Dragonflight is pretty much the same as every expansion. PvP, have fun. Would really like to see how far I can push in threes, because threes is something I haven't really done too much. I normally would always do twos because it's quicker and easier to get into. I would really like to start getting into threes and really getting better at Feral. I just started playing Feral this expansion, really. I played it a little bit in Shadowlands, but nothing too serious. I never did any rated stuff as it, and I typically would be the healer in arenas, playing Resto, and then RBGs I'd play as Guardian / Boomkin, where I'm still planning on playing Guardian, and probably not so much Boomkin now. I think Feral's going to be better in RBGs than Boomkin will be. I really want to see how high I can push all my ratings. I'd really like to hit minimum 22, but I'd really like to see if I can hit 24 in solo shuffle as Feral and as Resto, and then maybe try the other specs as well. I'd really like to see if the solo shuffle system's working. Right now I'm almost 16. I haven't played it too much. I've only done like 5 or 6 matches. Yeah, I'm 1592 right now. 30 rounds played, 19-1. So I really like the system. So that's gonna be my main goal, is to really see how high I can push my threes rating, my solo shuffle, maybe a little bit of twos. I might not be doing twos as much, but we'll see. And then things I'm looking forward to Dragonflight is seeing what they do with the story. I feel like they dropped the ball in Shadowlands with the story. I'm really upset with what they did with Sylvanas' arc, because she used to be one of my favorite characters, and just really killed her character. She did a lot of things that didn't really make sense for her. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do creatively now, especially with Chris Metzen coming back to the team. I'm really hoping that they really start bringing WoW to the glory days of what it used to be, like story-wise, aesthetically wise. The dragon flying's a lot of fun. I honestly thought I was gonna hate it, but I actually love it. The zones are beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And then making content on TikTok is going to be something I started doing when Shadowlands started. It's also another thing that's really kept me playing the game. I really enjoy making the little videos. It's all I really do. I don't do YouTube or stream. I used to a few years back, like during Legion and a little bit of BFA. I used to stream. It just became too much trying to manage a job and go to college and all of that stuff that I was doing at the time. So I ended up step back from it, and then I started during the pandemic. I downloaded TikTok like I think a lot of older people did, because I feel like the app used to be a lot of used to just be like a lot of kids on there, and then I think people my age, I'm 30, started downloading it and making content on there. Most of my content's PvP content. Obviously, I've talked a lot about PvP. I'll do like little trends here and there, but for the most part, that's all I do. I used to, make mount guides and stuff like that. But one thing I really am liking about this expansion so far is it seems like there's a lot more content around World of Warcraft now. I could tell you on like one hand how many people were making content during Shadowlands on TikTok, and every day I'm seeing more and more WoW videos, and it's great to see other people making WoW content on the app. And then yeah, my TikTok on there is Travis the. It's pronounced Travis T, but it's kind of a joke on my last name. I assume most people pronounce it the, just because that's how it's spelt, but last name's Thompson. The H is silent, so it's kind of a joke. It's literally just my name, Travis T.